Welcome to your sophomore year at the Tragedy Academy, where you are the teacher and we are the students. Together, we learn from past tragedy to lay the foundation for a better humanity. The only supplies you'll need: an open mind and a sense of humor. So, tilt that chair back, talk out of turn, and never raise your hand. Because this is the Tragedy Academy, and class is in session. And I'm Purist Scott. I'm leaving that audio in. You can totally hear the toilet in the background. Welcome to the Tragedy Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. My name is Jay, and today I am here with Christian Valera. How you doing today, Christian?
I am doing pretty good, just use the bathroom, so I'm feeling better.
Right. Well, in your defense, you thought you had a longer break, and I hit record while you were gone, so you kind of walked into that, and it wasn't intentional because I had no idea that's what you were doing, but it was a delightful accident.
See, if any of my friends were to hear that, they would expect it. They'd be like, yeah, that's something I would expect from anything that has to do with me. Oh, yeah, he's using the bathroom.
Yeah, see, I know. So I had a comedian and musician on a while back. Her name was Nilu, and I told her about I used to text my friends, and I still do sometimes. I'll send them a text, because it's hard to get in touch with people. You don't know what's going on. I'm a humorous dude. I don't like things to be serious. So if I hadn't been able to talk to a friend the last couple of times we had crossed each other, I'll send him a text when I'm on the toilet with a picture of my feet. And I'll say, hey, I'm available.
Dude, oh my God. It's kind of nasty. Okay. But,
it is. It's 100% disgusting, but the world's doing it.
Oh yeah. See, no, but I took it a step further. When this is like your best friends, okay, we're basically brothers at this point, right?
100%.
It was in college, and a lot of the times when we would have just days where it's just we're back home, or this is like during midterms time, so we're not really seeing each other too often. It'd be one of the three of us in the bathroom, and it'd just be a random snap. You'd be like, oh yeah, I haven't heard from this guy in a minute. What's up? And it'd be a picture of whatever is in the toilet. And I'd be like, you're
man. Dude. Yes, we're all guilty of it. That's a dude thing. It is the most heinous of things. It's a bizarre caveman issue. I don't know why it's there, but there's something primal about getting your buddy to look at your poo. It just makes it warms your primal heart. I think that's the first joke. Look, yeah, exactly. I feel like that's just where that comes from. We are the caveman poop of podcasts here.
Dude, it's terrible sometimes.
So people know Christian came on. He's got some interesting topic that is something that I feel should be more mainstream. We should discuss things openly. Christian had talked about having dealt with loss in his childhood and finding an escape in art, in theater, in film, and all those types of things. So I want to give you a chance to discuss this and let us know how you traversed these trials and tribulations. Look at that, dude. I should be a rapper. That was like 3 hard words in a row, all T's.
You got the diction down, my dude. Things are do tongue twisters. But like how you said it. So things in my life started out not very stable. I had my mother and I had my father, but they were in that thing where they weren't married, but they had kids out of wedlock kind of situation. And there were some stuff between my dad and my mother that they just weren't together. And then my mom passed when I was 5. And as a 5-year-old,
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Oh, I appreciate it, sir. But as a 5-year-old, it's kind of hard to wrap things around your mind that are so real. Like, yeah, this person is now long gone and you can't ever see them again. And from then on, my grandmother raised me along with my father. That was her son. And like you eloquently mentioned, I wasn't allowed to go outside too often because my grandmother was a very busy person. And my dad was also very busy too. So they always had jobs going on, but they trusted me enough to be like, you can stay home. here's some cash if you need food, but just
That's
obviously
the '90s latchkey kid. I was
Yes.
that kid for a while. Gotcha.
Oh, dude, I was like that till middle school. Just it was like it was weird at first, but then I kind of got used to it. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry, I can't really hang out afterwards, or I would find excuses like, hey, I got art club. Can I hang out with my friends at art club? And they're like, yeah, okay, sure. Just come home after. All right, cool. That's where it kind of started. Every time I would get home, I have homework done, but I didn't have any of my siblings to be around. It was just me for the longest. And oftentimes my escape was art club. It was watching whatever movies that my grandfather had or my dad had. And a lot of the times they were they were like kung fu movies from the 70s or 80s.
Those are amazing.
Dude, they were kind of, honestly, they were the best to kind of start out with. They were just they had their own style, and I appreciate that.
They really did.
If it wasn't that, dude, it was the rom-coms that my grandmother had. So I started getting a little bit more into that now too. And on top of that, it was just whatever was on TV, TBS, whatever they were just playing reruns for. And so,
to be honest, that generation, your generation, my generation, is that's when they split and made the household income required two parents at work, and a lot of people ended up becoming, the kids were raised by the TV. It's a latchkey kid system because moms couldn't be at home or dads couldn't be at home anymore. There couldn't be a single parent household where somebody was there and the other was working and be able to survive. It just didn't happen anymore. So you're describing a generation of kids, especially the single parent kids, that had to come home and do that and get raised by the TV.
That's very encouraging to hear, because a lot of the times when you're stuck in an echo chamber, you don't realize that sometimes other people are feeling the same things. And, I'll be real. Sometimes you hold resentment for people that you feel like are a lot better off, or visually that you could see like, yeah, they look like they probably have a very awesome time when they go home.
Man.
And then it
took me a long time to get past that kind of thing because, the way that I grew up, I hated everybody for what they had. Everybody was, just should never complain, should never be upset. It's not fair for what I have and what they have. That's a normal reaction, man. You don't have to be ashamed of it. You're a kid. Of course. That's how we react in that moment.
Yeah, you learn and you adapt to what you can, just because this is all like you're learning as this is happening. It kind of sucks that this is what your framework is being like, yeah, this is what normal life actually is versus what like you fantasize what it could be, or yeah, this person probably doesn't have to go home and just be by themselves for a long time. They probably have, but I didn't realize that it was kind of like that for the longest. But, that's where my escape started happening. I started in art class. I started doing more drawings and doodles. And I'll be honest, if my art teacher wasn't as cool as he was, I probably wouldn't have been into art as much as I was. But this guy, he was like, I could call him on his first name basis. We were that cool. It was like, what's going on, Marvin? He's like, hey, what's up, Christian? What are we going to be doing today? We're going to be doing some paper mache artwork. Okay, cool. I'm with that, man. Do all this kind of stuff.
That's super cool.
Honestly, dude, this guy used to it was a book fair once. And I really wanted to get this scholastic book back when the Scholastic Book Fair came to town.
Oh, yeah. Riff. Reading is fundamental, the whole nine.
Dude, there was a Captain Underpants book that I wanted to read. And I was like, I'm missing $2. And he was like, Christian, if I buy this for you, are you sure you're going to read it? I was like, yes, I have the 5. I need 7. Do you have $2? He's like, yeah, I got you. I was like, all right, thank you, Marvin. I appreciate it.
That's so cool.
Honestly,
that's the teacher. That's the teacher that you remember. And the fact that he was doing it from a point of love and from passion, because you can tell the way you're describing it, it didn't matter to him that anything other than the fact that he was there getting to hang out with kids and make art. That's all he wanted to do. And that sounds great.
It was honestly awesome. It was one of those moments I still treasure, but it was from then on, it was just like, I like art. I like people expressing things. And in a way, being a latchkey kid, movies and TV shows kind of gave me, if not a drop, it gave me a window to see what life is like for other people, or topics or different things, which is why I kind of carry this curiosity with me. I like learning about things, no matter how minute or inconsequential they could be. They fascinate me. It's like, I've never seen this growing up. I love the fact that this, dude, my favorite example is this. In a hospital, I found out that for certain patients that have more of maybe a cough or virus, something that could be in the air that could transfer to the people, they have a special room that if you open, vacuums activate to push air in the room so nothing gets out. And I was part of a tour group about this, and I was losing my mind about this. I was like, how does it, what? first off, how does this thing know when to start? It works. It fully works. Not like, I want to try this. I want to like learn more about this. This isn't, but then everybody else is kind of like, this is normal. I don't know what your fan is like going crazy about. I'm like, are you not describing about the world?
Yeah, you're describing being mindful.
Yes.
You're describing being in the now and exploring things in the now versus, contemplation or long-term, anxiety or worry or whatever. You're actually exploring what's in front of you now. And I can definitely relate to using the TV or movies as a window to the outside world. Having grown up remotely, you find you don't get as much interaction with other people. I was really far away from most people. We had like 3 channels. So when you grow up that way, you pick up a lot of your moral compass. You pick up a lot of your, perceived correct ways to navigate society, or what you feel is acceptable based on the stuff that you take in. Yeah. And I think that a lot of times we don't remember that there's probably the vast majority of people under the age of 18 are being raised by a screen.
Yeah.
So everything they're consuming is what they believe.
Yeah. Like this is what nature is. So I need to kind of either emulate it or accept that this is like how society or so on kind of thing.
Having that discernment that you had to understand that, it's not necessarily real, but it is, a place to escape to and understand what society is like on the outside is such a beautiful way to navigate it. And that probably speaks testaments or volumes to your father and your grandmother and the way that they kept you or raised you.
Right. I appreciate that, man. That's a very good way to put it. They definitely like, my grandmother definitely pushed for, she was a religious person, and then my dad wasn't. So I had both worlds in a sense growing up. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot of good morals from my grandmother, but then I also had a lot of good, in a way, street smarts of understanding people, knowing when to be a pushover, knowing when it's not, knowing when to be nice to somebody, knowing when it's not to be, realizing these kind of things. And I do appreciate them for it.
That's situational awareness. That's understanding how you impact others. And that's really what makes a great filmmaker, director, producer, is somebody that can interpret the human mind, right? Or the human experience. That's really what it is. I harp it all the time because I say that, artists, creators say they own the mindful moments that people give away, and that it is up to them to provide their art from their heart in a specific way so that it can impact them, not to the detriment of society, but to the furthering of, a collective goal of some sort with better intentions in mind.
Yeah.
We have to remember that we influence people, in the long run. But when you grow up in a manner where it's less than favorable for, your growing up in society or with the other children, things like that, it makes you more empathetic with those around you. And it also makes you be able to discern when somebody is approaching you from a nefarious or weighted or some kind of they have some kind of agenda type of situation.
Yeah.
When you grow up that way, you can spot it very easily, and it's hard. It's hard not to tell people that they're being that way. But if the fact that you're saying that you were able to, kind of bob and weave with it, let it be a pendulum and not let it, knock you off the balance beam in the middle, that's the way to handle it. So, I mean, kudos to you, because I didn't have a goddamn clue at your age.
But, at the same time, sometimes some of these things can also be a double-edged sword, because you might take in certain concepts or ideas that show a favorable outcome within a story. But if you apply to real life, it'd be very like the opposite. It's like, what are you doing? Like, this only works in the movies kind of approach to certain things. Like, for the longest, dude, I was a very hopeless romantic. I was a very I wanted to be a gentleman. I really like you. I'd like to take you out sometime. Here's a bouquet of flowers. But I would drive it a little too far sometimes, to where it's like, I'm not letting this person just be a person. I'm treating them as if they're like a trophy of this beauty or something, but not like being like, hey, you're really cool. You have your own interests.
Wait a minute. Isn't that term? Hold on. I'm gonna pull out an old man. Isn't that simping?
Yeah.
I got one.
If I had to say, if I was a simp, I was the king of simps growing up. But in a way,
that's okay, dude. That's what a teenage boy is. It's not that every single one is a simp. It's just who's getting caught simping at the moment.
Honestly, yeah. At some point, you will be a simp. Do not fight it. You want to be like, I really like this girl,
but there's
man.
nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's when you place too much importance on something, you make it unattainable. You give it more difficulty than it actually needs. When in all actuality, being yourself is the key to meeting the person.
Correct. You treat somebody fairly versus making them almost an obsession sometimes. And that, honestly, that has happened to me twice. And that is not fun at all. It just makes you kind of like confused or lost.
And that's when you have to take that's when you take a moral inventory and you find out, you stop and you ask yourself, all right, I'm doing this. I find myself placing these women on a pedestal. I find myself needing their approval, their attention. When I don't hear back from them, I think that they immediately don't love me or don't talk to me or don't want to be near me. All those types of things. We run those scenarios through our head and we become a victim to it, right? Yeah. We become a victim to the scenario because then the third one, we're just going to assume that's how life is. Mm-hmm. And this is how we'll be treated forever. But the question isn't how not to do those things. The question is why you do it to begin with.
Right.
And that means that there's a hole somewhere that's missing or needs a plug. I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, therapist.
For me, man.
If I had a dart right now, I would throw it right at the loss of a mom at 5.
Yes. That's what I was going to say.
That's the only thing I can do. And that's normal. That is normal.
Yeah.
That's what people don't tell you. For a child to lose their parent at a young age, that leaves a void. Mm. That leaves a vacuum in love. That leaves a vacuum in the understanding, the maternal pieces, all these things. There's a hole and a void there. So why wouldn't you seek it out? You haven't been told the proper way to seek it.
Right.
You haven't been told the proper way to hold it. You've never been told not to covet it. You've never been told not to place it on a pedestal because you've never had it.
Correct. That's perfect, dude. You sound like my therapist, man. No, that's honestly the point. It was like, I just had a meeting with him not too long ago, and he told me like, yeah, what it sounds like is you're not having this psychological flexibility with your emotions, whereas a pain so drastic at such a young age, you hold it too close to your chest sometimes, and it becomes something that you can't look at. You can't take the moment to just stop and think to yourself like, this pain that I feel, am I holding it on and not letting it go on purpose? And is that dictating the outcomes of like putting, for example, like my ex-girlfriend or something, and putting all of the pressure on her and being like, I want to make you happy because you're supposed to be a surrogate to my mother, because okay, if I love you and you love me back, then I'll have that maternal or female kind of appreciation or affection that I lack. And then that in turn puts too much pressure on somebody. It's like, we're dating and you're putting all this pressure on me, dude. This is like a lot to take in, versus like, and vice versa for people that have father issues too.
This applies to every issue that there is. It's a mirror in a vacuum,
Yes.
Every single time.
And when you lack that guidance, dude, it's intense. And maybe
it really is.
You might have some surrogate parents. Like for my sake, I had both. My grandmother raised me until I was 15. And then my aunt and uncle raised me until from 9th grade of high school to once I moved out. And so I've always had surrogate mothers. I've always had surrogate fathers, if not my actual father. And so that one-to-one connection never really clicked for me. Other people kind of just get it. And, of course, I'm going to envy some of it sometimes. But with that lack of who am I, and usually my parents are kind of there to help me like figure out like who I am as a person. Without having that and trying to move forward with it, things get rough, things get bottled, things get stuffed, and it ends up being a very, very almost self-hating situation because you want to express these things, but you sometimes don't know who to go to.
No, you don't. You don't want to express them. You don't want to express them, and that's the problem. That's why all the pain exists.
Exactly.
The moment that you realize that you can't express them and that there's no actual repercussions to expressing them unless you accept those as repercussions, then they never exist to begin with.
And you can convince yourself almost too. You convince yourself like, yeah, people are going to think of me negatively because I have these problems. And yet even sometimes when somebody is actually open with you, you either might not tell that they're being open and being vulnerable with you, or you see that you want to take that leap, but you're so locked, you're holding yourself so far back that you just can't do it. Even if they're right next to you crying about how they're expressing themselves, just like in general, you want to take that leap too. Sometimes you can't take it.
And it's always fear.
Yes.
Fear is the biggest driver in everything. It's what makes us do just about anything and everything that it drives how we interact with every single person, because it's what we fail to acknowledge. The fact is that we're probing throughout our lives to determine which things give acceptable outcomes. So we're going to try each and every one until we figure out the societal one that accepts the face at the time.
Yeah.
That this one's correct. And we're actually just manipulating. That's all it is. We're manipulating people to stay socially acceptable, right?
Yeah.
We have masks. I talk about these a lot. We have masks and we put them on.
The 3 masks.
And we paint them, right? And you can have so many. What people don't realize is that, and then the test is pick up the phone when your father calls, and then pick up the phone when the car warranty people call, right? Check your voice in that moment. Check your personality. Maybe it's the doctor that calls. Maybe it's an interview. Each one of those fucking things has a different inflection, voice, appearance. But guess what? Those do damage because they're not supposed to be there. We're only supposed to be one thing.
True.
So we're wearing all these masks, and then we're putting them in a bag and carrying it to the next one. And then we have to remember what mark is on each mask. And, we got to try to navigate who they're going to interact with. Oh, shit, that's Sarah. I got to remember I have a fucking scar under the left eye of my mask for her.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's not how you operate. And you had said something when you had asked to come on the show. And I remember it being something along the lines of being yourself or authentic was what you figured out in how you wanted to address the world going forward.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Dude. That's what it all boils down to. One mask or no mask. It's actually no mask.
You can understand, it's the perfect storm will hit where you are suddenly put in a position where you have to where we're in a situation, you have completely different people and you have a different mask for each one of them. And people will see that you are constantly switching between inflections, personalities, the things you talk about, the way you answer things. You're constantly changing, which makes people, that's where that you try to please everybody and you're pleasing nobody kind of thing comes in. And
yeah, I saw a video where somebody said that there's actually, it's a very great way to describe it. There are a infinite number of you out there, right? Dude, or possibilities of you. And this is why. Wasn't the normal thing where parallel dimensions, all this other stuff? No, it's every single person's perception of you that you've given them.
Oh,
you're not the same to any two people. You are a different person, a different character, a different meaning, a different life, you are a different role in every single person's eyes that has ever seen you, because no two people see the same thing, even when they're standing there. So you are infinitely replicated in different ways. It's fucking weird. That's when I heard it, I was like, that's so true. Dude. Because this is why you can walk up and see the news is standing outside the guy's house. Well, I fucking never knew he would have done that. I can't believe it. Because you never experienced that. Right. Because he wasn't that person. He was only that person when he was that person.
These truth bombs you're dropping here, man. I never considered that. I always thought this person probably thinks of me this way, or I've only ever had experiences with this person, but never considered the fact that these people, no matter what, will always look at you differently in an infinite amount of times.
Because their base, their platform that they're building from has a separate set of experiences, understandings, cognitive bias, everything in between. There's no way.
Correct.
There's no way. And that's why empathy is so fucking important.
Agreed.
So important because, dude, we cannot keep treating people the way we do and not take into account. I don't care if you're a fucking murderer or you're Mother Teresa. You both have a set of experiences and you both didn't ask to be part of the fucking game.
True. You just got thrown in with the cards you're dealt and you tried playing them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't.
Right. So your mother passes away when you're 5.
Yes.
And you're navigating, your childhood, you're finding your creative outlets. How does that grow into who you are now? There's little Christian. He's learning how to draw. He's found his great teacher. He's got his inspiration. It's there. What does it branch out into?
Dude, quick side note, that was my street name back growing up because my dad is the same name as me. So he used to be Christian. I used to be little Christian when I was with him.
Look at that.
That just took me back.
Everything happens for a reason.
So I'm navigating these things. Growing up, the first movie I ever saw in theaters, my dad took me for my birthday. It was Spiderman in 2002. That was the first movie I ever saw. From then on, I had this fascination with having something creatively just constructed in your mind. And it could be a story or it could just be an idea, but having it come into fruition, I fell in love with. It's like, I would love, and the fact that I don't have much things, I was like, I would love to do that. So I started making like little movies just by myself. Just creative edits here and there, play multiple characters at a time. And I'd watch them back and I'd be enjoying them. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I just made this. It wasn't until I was in high school that I actually had a filmmaking class. And these were just like, you get barely any credits for anything past high school. I was like, I don't care. I'm taking every single class of it because I love this thing so much. And once there, I started learning almost like more about myself too. I started learning what I'm actually interested in, things that push me, things that pull me, and the story making process to begin with. And that's when I started taking movies and things more serious. That's when I started learning that certain genres really hit me and certain topics or certain movie plots or movies in general just really hit me.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. I think that there's parallels.
Yeah.
You might have things that you find interesting in them. And then there's maybe they created it from the heart.
Yeah.
I find that creations that don't come from planning, plotting, thinking, maneuvering, or whatever, if it's just a piece of art that you're putting on a piece of paper or you're filming or whatever it is, and it's from a point of passion, it's going to resonate with people.
Oh, yeah.
Those are going to be the ones you pick out. And it's not because they had a big budget. It's not because they're a great writer or anything like that. It's just that what they're putting down is fucking real.
You could feel it. You could feel how much fun or how much dedication somebody puts to something.
Mona Lisa's ugly as hell, but it sure is captivating.
Yeah. It's like, look at Clerks. Clerks was made dirt cheap, but the people that made it are like, all right, Kevin Smith, dude, I love making this movie. You could feel it. You're like, this shouldn't be a thing, but it did, and it grew, and it gave somebody in multiple people a career. It's like, yeah, it's when you care about something versus just like, I'll do it, I guess.
Yeah, I'll do it, I guess, is something that I just have no desire to ever do again.
Because you're not being authentic.
It serves no purpose. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. Hey, academics. Have you endured life's tragedies, trials, and tribulations? Did you adapt and overcome? Do you have advice for others to pay forward and want to be a guest? Then email us a brief 2 to 3 minute video to show@thetragedyacademy.com and tell us how our academics can learn and grow from these experiences. Thanks again for your support. And now, back to class. Superheroes,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
You have some really cool series. This brought you into the superhero world, didn't it?
Yes. I was a very almost impressionable kid, but looking back to myself as a childhood, I think I enjoy the fact that these people, they have all this power and yet they want to do so much good with it, right? And unfortunately, it's not little picture stuff unless it's Spiderman, which is just like helping the neighborhood, make sure nobody gets mugged or whatever. But it's just these people, despite their backgrounds or how they show up, they get given this power, and with correct motivation and with correct guidance, they are able to stop this thing from happening, from destroying everybody on the planet or something. Just basically helping out everybody, like just because they really want to. Giving from the heart, not giving from the wall, or from a point of where you can receive accolades or you're trying to prove a point. There is no
like that.
goal or agenda.
You fell in love with the pureness of somebody giving without any. That took a minute to try to, but that particular way that somebody can give back, there's no agenda, there's nothing attached to it. Somebody that doesn't need to do what they're doing.
They don't have to, correct, but they could lead by example. That's kind of their point. That's like almost the point of Superman, is just You are there not to be above them, but to help, if anything, maybe guide them into the correct direction. But they are not below you. You're not above them. And that's speaking back to like where you get your moral compass from. That's where I got mine. I like, no matter what the situation is, if somebody's in help or somebody needs help, and trust me, sometimes I really don't want to, but that nagging voice in me is like, but they have nobody else that's going to help them. And you have all the time to help them. Will you do it? And I'm like, yeah, because they need help. And if I was in that situation, I would love the fact that somebody, even if they don't want to be here, they looked and said, like, look, you need help. I'm here to help you. What's up?
So, and that's an admirable thing quality to have about yourself.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
With one caveat.
Oh,
you are no good to anybody else until you're good to yourself first.
Yeah. That's where that double-edged sword.
If you overstretch the other direction and you haven't given yourself the quality time or care that it deserves, you're only giving people 10%. People are asking you for a 6-pack and you're throwing them a beer, instead of the whole thing.
Right.
And you're calling, but you have lost the energy of somebody that carried something heavier to them. Mm-hmm. However, you didn't bring that to the table. You only brought a small piece. And then you have to ask yourself the question, are you doing it for them or are you doing it for you?
Yeah, that's where that kind of comes in, dude. That's that double-edged sword that I'm learning about, where
we're all learning it, dude.
Yeah.
It is non-discriminatory. It's every age, it's every gender, every orientation. It is all across the board because it's not set in stone.
And that's the hardest part. It's if I would have been taught self-love or appreciation more fully at a younger age, it'd be a lot more fluid to understand that. But like it's like, yeah, I'm at a certain age almost where certain things are almost set in stone, but I am also trying to like change them. I'm trying to give more of a respectful approach to myself versus of kind of sacrificing everything myself wise to help somebody. And I have noticed I do that, some certain things, certain friends I try to help out, and I often have to sacrifice my own enjoyment or my own time, that just because I'm like, yeah,
that's a lot of work.
Oh, it is, dude. And it's like a burden. It's like carrying those masks. It's like a mask with bricks underneath. You're just like, you get tired a lot pretty often, and you start to build resentment sometimes. Like, I really wish nobody would talk to me so I don't have to help them because they asked me.
Now, what if your friends were given the option in advance to accept what you were going to bring to them or allow you to keep your current situation to help yourself for a while? Do you think that they would have the same weight on their problem as you have if you've given it? Probably not, no. Right? They would see yours and they would allow you to take care of yourself. Why? Because they love you.
Yeah.
So you give yourself the same respect that you would give someone, at the same time. They're going to allow you. Mm-hmm. You're not hold up to a scoreboard. There's not anybody out there taking tally of how many times you did it and how many times you didn't.
Yeah.
Because that's the one that we really care about.
Yeah.
We don't want to get caught with our pants down. We want to make sure that we're the one that's helping it. Yeah, that's probably not the best term for this situation.
That's happened to me.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. You're like you want to make sure that nobody accuses you of not being there, because that counts as bigger demerits in the social system. You can fuck up, right? You can do something, but for some reason, if you just weren't there in a moment, that's a piece of shame. That goes on one of your masks. It's like it's like a dirty Sanchez, right? Right under the nose of your mask that you have to wear around and everybody gets to look at, because you did something shameful.
Yeah.
And it's not true, because guess what? We all have individual lives that we have to live.
Yeah.
The opportunities to help people present themselves in the moment that they need to be taken care of. We don't have to calculate in advance to help. It just doesn't work that way. No. It's got to be something that comes down the pipe. And if you feel like you're forcing help on yourself or on the situation, it doesn't need to happen. You're not the one to help them this time.
Yeah. So it's that honesty. It's that communication. It's like,
yeah.
Be honest. I'm sorry, I can't. Any other time I got you, but I just can't today. It's like, okay. Most often than not, it's not really that severe.
If they don't accept that, that's an easy way to weed out friends quick.
Correct.
Like that, to me, that's like wearing a Confederate flag shirt in front of me. Like, oh, we're good. See you later, man. Like, I don't have to put any work into this. It's not a situation.
Yeah.
I'm not like, do I have to figure this guy out? Nope, it's done. Love, peace, and chicken grease. I'm out of here, man. I'm not fucking dealing with you.
I've never heard that before.
I picked it up somewhere in the Army. I say it a lot. But you know what I mean? I love it when somebody back in the day, it would have been an affront or a situation, something I would have boiled over, yada, yada, yada. But now, I try or I preach. And the more I tell other people, the more I tell myself that you have to let people be people in their lives and take things when they happen.
Right.
That's it. Because if you overstretch, if it's uncomfortable in that way, I shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. It's almost hard to get that connection into your head. It's like this, you have all the clear signs to be like, this is okay to just step away from.
I guess the question is why the need is there to have to help people.
Loss. Sometimes certain people you start to develop almost a feeling that this person that was supposed to be almost going to be there for the rest of your life, because usually parents hopefully are in a positive way. But then to have someone like that just leave, you might start to connect that they left. You are constantly being handed around to different people. The people that you go close to, you don't see anymore. Like I moved around when I was a little kid. So I grew connections with people. And then I had to just, okay, I'm moving. I'll see you guys later.
Same. I moved around quite a bit when I was young.
Right. So you kind of you feel homeless. You get used to having to move on. Like, at certain points, you might just convince yourself like, okay, well, I'm going to get to know this person, but something's going to happen probably in the future where I have to leave or they have to leave. And you get used to it, which in a correct way is a really good way to kind of just be able to be okay with having to let go. In other ways, it might be toxic to the point where you're afraid of people letting go, to where you hold them as close as you can or as hard as you can, try to be super pleasing, make sure that nobody leaves you because you're tired of people leaving you all the time.
God, that's awful.
And basically to the point where they just end up leaving you because you're just like, dude, like I need that space. I appreciate you care about me this much, but you need to, step back a little bit. And then that doesn't make sense to you. And you're like, but you want to leave now? Like
But I loved you.
Yeah.
I loved you so much. Why?
Exactly.
Why? Because you placed too much importance on something and you made it unattainable.
Yeah.
You coveted it. You put it up there on a pedestal.
Without a good frame of reference, sometimes tragedies could manifest themselves into personality traits that you do not want to have.
There's something else that happens when you move around a lot in your early years. And I don't know, something that happened to me. Yeah. I don't know. I can't ever project it onto everybody else, but that's where you start learning or perfecting the use of the mask.
Yeah.
Is in those years. And if you're required to be a different person multiple times, and that doesn't include abusive situations, fear situations, that kind of stuff, you collect a lot of masks early on. It's two situations. One, you don't know who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
And two, you got a sack of masks at an early age. Your back is going to go out by the time you're 13.
That's such a great way to put it, man. It's like it's gotten to a point where after so many masks, you know how to be fake, and you're not trying to be. You read somebody else's body language or the things they talk about or how they say certain things, and you kind of start to like, okay, I feel like I know what you want to make.
That's your social currency. All we're doing is measuring up everybody when we get eye to eye with them in some way, shape, or form. All we're doing is calculating.
Yeah.
Okay. But the problem is calculation is thinking about the future. A calculation is not thinking about now.
Yeah.
Or you're utilizing stuff that happened before, not now.
Right.
So what happens? You're just sitting there in a cyclone, and instead of taking in that conversation or that person in that very moment, you're just sitting there spinning in circles.
Yeah.
Right? Worrying about something that doesn't fucking exist. Right? Because it's already happened and it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So
computer.
You kind of have, I'll tell you though, something occurred to me not long back, and I was talking to, I had a guest on, Jennifer Menendez. She came on, she talked about loss. Her mother passed away from cancer. And we look at, we're coming into so many different understandings of reality and different things and the way that we perceive things. Einstein was, this is the theory of relativity.
Yes.
Time is, it's an illusion, right? And if you look at the fact that if we're always in the now and you were with your mother then, right? And it's never tomorrow and it's never yesterday, right? That means that she never left. And that means that she's always here with you because she couldn't have gone anywhere.
Very true.
It's just a matter of how you're perceiving time now. Everything changes. Nothing is permanent, right? That's the only thing we know. The only thing permanent in life is change.
Yeah.
So if we're able to understand that the feelings that we feel in the moment or the now, they are something that we can hold on to. They can exist anytime.
Yeah.
Right? And memories fade, but feelings don't. You know, it's when you walk into a building that you used to be in and you shudder and you don't even know you were there before.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck is this? Or, a certain smell, you're like, and it's not like a bad smell. It's a smell that associates to something.
Very specific examples, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
But I mean,
this reminds me of
that's kind of what I had thought. Yeah, that's kind of what I had thought. When I was talking to her about it, I was like, I would guess that they're just never not there. And it lends credibility to all the different religious tests that say you don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Or that you're around in some way, shape, or form, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just a little bit of comforting thought, if you will.
Yeah.
Because there's no void to fill if she's always there.
That's true. I guess sometimes things don't get explained that way and you miss out. Like if something was explained that way to me, it was like having that, having a religious grandmother, it would be, okay, well, she left, she went here, she went to heaven or whatever thing. Mm-hmm. And then I'm not too sure of my father, to be honest. I never talked to him about it until recently, really. But it could be, okay, well, she's gone, but you could still see her. She's over here. It's never kind of like, well, she's not really gone. No one's ever kind of been and said, she's not really gone. She physically might not be here, but like how your friend that lives out in California is not physically here. He's still with you. Like that kind of frame of thinking is very positive. And I appreciate that.
It's existential. It is existential, but it leads to that direction. And, the only way that you can really address these types of things is to recognize what the reasons that they're plucking those chords inside of you for. It's like a guitar, man.
Yeah.
And every one of those, you reach in, and when it plucks one of those emotional strings, it'll vibrate. And you gotta identify, is that the G string or is it the E string? It dawned on me halfway through the sentence. I was like, fuck yeah, this is going to work.
Don't look at your face. I'm going to say it.
Oh, it was sheer happiness.
That was great. That was no great,
oh, man, you can't make that shit up.
But no, James, that has a lot of credence, man. That's a really good way to put it, and that's one of those things that I missed out, and that hopefully if anybody is hearing this and shares that same thing, it's a really good way to think about it. If you're dealing with that kind of loss to where you feel like it's this tremendous amount of pain that impedes things that you really want to do, but the fear of letting somebody in or doing something that you want to do or just being yourself is holding you back, then just, I would say first accept those feelings, like acknowledge the fact that you have them and don't be afraid to be vulnerable. I would say that to be first. Man,
once you're vulnerable, you get to find out that everybody around you has been playing the same game. They've all been stalemating across the board. Why do you think it took like 15 minutes for everybody to figure out it was okay to say they had depression, anxiety, ADHD, bipolar, whatever. Man, within like minutes of the pandemic, when everybody was like, all right, we're on our mental knees right now. Everybody was like, can we say it? Can we say it now?
Yeah, I guess nobody wants to be the first one to say it because they're fear of being
it's like the 8th grade dance, man. Mental health was the 8th grade dance, dude. Everybody was standing around the outside waiting to go to dance with bipolar or dance with ADHD or whatever it was in front of everybody. Yeah. And
I was that guy. I love to dance, man. If you didn't like to dance, well then I guess that's your thing. But I get what you mean.
See, everything that I was growing up was behind closed doors.
Yeah.
because I was so afraid of judgment on the outside, body dysmorphia and crap like that.
Oh, yeah.
So you build those walls, like you were saying earlier. You don't just get masks in that scenario. You also get defense mechanisms that manifest themselves in different personality traits, like you said earlier. They create different yous.
Yeah.
Different yous over and over again. And yeah, it just occurred to me that that's the you leave behind in the last set of eyes that was interacting with you.
Shit, and you might not even register that. Like these interactions, like, okay, I think I left in a positive note, but not really like, how did I really leave?
And that's a question that you should never ask yourself.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
It should just be like, I had fun hanging out with this person, not how did I leave? Or what did I say? How do they look at me?
That's the mask.
Yeah.
That is the actual mask. The moment that you feel the need to remember something that you left off with the other person that's going to require you to pull it back out of the bag the next time you're there.
Yeah.
It is now an issue. Why though? Why is always the question. Why is the mask there to begin with? Why is there the need to even pull out a mask and a Sharpie or where the fuck it is?
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, it's all about knowing who you are.
Yeah.
What constructed it. You've got a really good handle on understanding, just discerning between what is you and what is other people, and how not just the effect, but the affect, you know, and getting that understanding. I admire you for it. I think that comes from looking at plot lines and actors and things like that. It really does.
In a weird way, it's kind of like, it's almost helped when it comes to try to perform too. It separating yourself from what you normally are to what you need to be is great when you have a productive way of doing it, but when you can also leave it alone too. Like trying to act, for example, is almost one of the best jobs for it, because it's like, I need you to be this cowboy from the 50s that loves tequila but really hates crows. Got it. I'll go ahead and take care of it or something. You know, it's like, yeah, but then it's that disconnection to it too. It's like, I don't like wearing these masks unless I have something to say, unless I have something to do where I feel like this is also part of myself. This is not, you know.
It's funny, you know, the mask itself, the fact that we feel we need it is the only thing. And it's the biggest joke of it all. Mm-hmm. We're born with a face. We're born with who we are. The lucky thing that I see that you had is that you had art. You found the midlife crisis is born of not knowing the art or impeding on what you were naturally inclined to do as a child. Yeah. And you just put layers of shit over it for so long that you freak the hell out because you realize everything you've been doing was all for naught because you wanted to be doing that to begin with. So finding out that you have a drive or an art or something that gives you that solace is something that most people don't get, but maybe they're not supposed to. Yeah. Maybe you don't find out until you're 40 or so, and that your art actually requires you having gone through some heinous shit or, you know, gone through a different set of life or whatever, or maybe you can't bring pain to the table unless you've gone through the pain. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Look at our musicians, man. The best die way too young. And they weren't fucking like machines. They didn't do everything by the book. No, they're just fucking hot messes, you know? Yeah. But the art was so painful. Actors, Heath Ledger. Yeah. Right? That you step into a mind of somebody else, you can't obtain that mindset. That just tells you how fragile reality actually is. If we can take our brain and assume an identity to the point that it breaks our mind, why is that any different than the shit that we're doing every day?
Dude, holy shit.
Just as much of a choice.
Yeah, it really is.
So is anxiety. So is worry. So is depression. All those types of things. What we don't realize is they are a choice. 100% a choice. We just don't know it. That's the cosmic joke. The whole game is a choice. Yeah.
Or we make excuses for some of them too. It's like, oh, I have to put up with this anxiety or this depression of being here just because I have to.
Because you were told, have to. Yeah. You were told to feel shame. Yeah. You were told to feel guilt. You were told. But in reality, the only thing you have to do is gain the wisdom. Don't repeat. Repeat good, don't repeat bad. That's it. That's pretty much all it is. Now, the problem is how do you get your currency. What is your social currency? What is it that you need? What do you grab? Is it likes? Is it cash? Is it material? Is it love? Is it,
Yeah.
What's the benchmark?
I would say that I would say whatever drives you, people that find that valuable, that'll be their currency. It's like instead of going to the ATM to get currency, have the people come to you for that currency.
There is no currency.
That was a trick question.
It's all in the eyes of the beholder. It's because there's anybody can define a currency. Tell me why gold is worth something.
Just because it's pretty.
I mean, I'm sure it has a few properties of shit that it can do. Yeah. But outside of that, why the fuck do we care so much about it that we dangle it around our chest? We run around, the 70s had a whole fucking era dedicated to swinging medallions. And nobody explains why the fuck we care. Because it's not good looking. Gold isn't like the color that looks great on people. It's like the official color of the pimp, that pink or whatever, It's a chalice. It's all these other things. It's not. Yeah. But yeah, we give it so much power that we'll let it rise in price. When I could have a pile of gold in my living room right now and it wouldn't do a goddamn thing for me but hold down some shit. That's it.
Glorified paperweights.
The same thing though. All of the currency that everybody has is still, it's their choice to make it currency.
Correct.
That's it. If it doesn't mean anything, it's really not currency. It's a choice.
And it's a very visceral, dissatisfying feeling because like Jay, an unappreciated art, there we go, that you would be that you like talking to people. You like perspectives and you like things that either are, dude, this hits right at home. I have that connection with you, or wow, this hit me from left field. I never even knew this thing existed. You like seeing these kind of examples and these different perspectives from different people from different times and lives that you get a joy almost. You look forward to these things. This is what you feel the most happiest and what you appreciate about, I'm sure, your life is like, I get to talk to really cool people.
This is my art.
Yes.
The whole entire thing since day one. And I'll tell you, it's because it fills a void. And the void that it fills for me is the only one that should exist. And that's giving back.
Oh,
it's so bizarre that have you ever given back and had a bad feeling from it? Like ever? No, it's immediate, like a rush. It's a severe rush. It's like you're happy. You can click your heels, run down the street, all sorts of shit. That's how you feel every time. But we treat that shit like the gym. Like we don't want to do it, don't want to do it. We finally decide to do it. And then we're happy as fuck.
Yeah.
Not only are we happy as fuck, we want to tell everybody we did it too, which is kind of narcissistic on top of that.
Humble brag.
Look at the homeless guy I fed.
Yeah.
like.
That humble brag. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're just doing it because you can actually be greedy. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
You can live off of giving back to people in any way that feels natural to you. Because when you do, it feeds the soul. It really does. It's fucking weird. It's a joke. We do all these other things. Nobody tells you that this actually works. That it actually brings you to a different level. It allows you to see people at a different level. Nobody tells you this shit.
Yeah.
They make charity seem like it's extra. Charity is work. Charity is sacrifice. Charity is all these things. No, it's not.
Those would be.
It's really not.
Yeah, those are the like.
It's just doing. It's just doing, and its fucking payoff is sick.
Great.
It's like a drug, man. It really is. Who doesn't want to be high on happiness? Right?
Yeah.
But you got to accept that it's going to be shitty sometimes. That's the other part.
Yeah.
It's going to suck some days. It has to. Otherwise, I was talking to somebody the other day about it. If everybody was smiling all the time, always happy, it'd be like living in a fucking room of clowns. Who the hell wants to be around that? There's like no like mediocre in the room. Like, what is the new level for sad? Like, it's like half a smile, Fuck that. We need sadness to respect happiness.
Yeah, that's something that my guy told me about. He said that just because you can't equate positive and negative emotions as good and bad, because sometimes a bad emotion could motivate you to do something good, and vice versa. But if you hold it down to where if I only do good things, these are positives, and I only do bad things, these are negatives, so I'm never going to do these bad things ever in my life, then that positive just ends up being a negative. It's you can't equate these things. And I was like, wow, that really hit me, because I feel like sometimes I tend, like with that sacrifice of not being able to give myself some time, I treat myself poorly because of it. And I also treat that person poorly because I'm not giving them what I told them I'd give them, that 100%, I'm going to help you, versus that, I guess I'll help you.
Judgment's a bitch, isn't it? It's the nastiest creation we ever had. It's funny, we have all these religious texts that will say, thou shalt not, in many different forms. Don't judge, don't judge, don't judge.
Yes.
But we always think that that's like, don't look down on somebody, right? But fundamentally, thou shalt not judge is probably the single most important thing that we have at our disposal. Because the moment that we rate something good or bad, no matter what it is, we create a void on the opposite side.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. No matter what we judge, it could even be a food sitting in front of us. It could be a person. It could be it doesn't matter. Once we give it a connotation, we change the game. It's no longer whole again. It never will be. And what we do is we hold the opposite side of it in ourselves. Every time we place judgment on something or on someone, it doesn't leave with them. We forget that.
Yeah.
It actually sits inside of us and stays, because in all actuality, we know we weren't supposed to do it.
Yeah, you get that.
We can't uncut that. It sits there.
Yeah.
It sits there because we feel guilty. We gave away something that we had no business giving. It served no purpose. It's fucking weird, man.
Dude, I feel bad. I just rated a pizza today as 6.2 out of 10, and I feel kind of guilty. I feel guilty.
You feel bad for Little Caesars? The poor guy.
I'm eating this, and I'm like, this actually isn't too bad. But like, mediocre pizza is still good pizza. But I still feel bad. I'm like, this pizza's still good. What am I talking about? I feel bad.
Right. Yeah. The rating system nowadays is BS, man.
Yeah.
It's so horrible because it crushes people's dreams without them ever even having a chance, or even people to have the opportunity to know that their dream existed. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's so buried. It favors money, or it favors the viral, or it favors you got to have money to be able to invest in the analytics and the ads and the things to get your art out there. And I feel like, again, if you're looking at all those areas as your goals, won't make it.
No, because
all you have to do is just focus on the art. Yeah. You literally, like, it's kind of like that Terminator 2, like when he gets smashed into bits.
Yeah.
Like that's like trying to go to fight when he's still in like little chunks. It just doesn't work.
Okay, you're pulling out the 80s. Let's go. All right.
Dude, I love all of them. So
no, I agree.
I wanna make sure that we highlight some things here, because there's you have your superhero pieces and you do these documentaries. Like you have this it's like a docu-commentary. What is this described as, so we can explain to people?
So,
because before we start, I want to tell you one thing.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Mystery Science Theater 2000 from back in the day.
Yeah.
I see all of this everywhere throughout all of your art. It's an influence somewhere.
So I didn't find out about it until one of these YouTube reviewers that I follow spoke about it. And I saw little ads of it on my TV when I pull it up. And I'm like, what is this? I've always thought, what is this? And I watched it and I enjoyed it. I'll be honest. I was like, this is fun. So for the, first up, how to describe it. I would describe it as a walkthrough / review of these movies. But I did them because a lot of the times my friends are kind of on that. There's so many of them. I don't know the difference. I don't know that Batman is in DC, not Marvel. I don't know who these characters are and how similar they look, but that thing. And so I thought,
that's not me. I'm not that dude. I know, like, I'm kind of like that. If Crayola were comic book characters, I still have that basic 8 box. I remember like Superman, Spiderman, Aquaman, he's shitty. And then, Oh, no, not anymore. He's not.
Right.
You know, he's like giant. But you get what I
No,
mean. I'm not that guy either.
But I kind of like realize that, okay, there are certain people that don't understand it, and they don't have the time to watch all 22 movies to understand what the hell is going on right now. But they would love to jump in because it looks like so much fun. And so I thought, well, why don't I start from the very beginning? Why don't I start from the 50s with Captain America and just work through every movie and just try to make it as interesting as possible to be like, this is what happened behind the scenes. This is how this movie was made, but let's talk about the movie. Here's what happened beat for beat, anything important. And if you want to check it out, you can get it kind of your own feeling for it. But
you know, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit because there's an art inside of this. When I watched the 1966 Batman,
dude,
you do so much extra, over the top, beautiful transitions, artwork, explanations, little call outs that you can see that it's not just somebody I don't want anybody out there to interpret this as like a wah, 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 wah. This is Batman and Batman. No, dude, there's some ridiculous shit in here. Like he opens it up running around in a Batman costume.
Yes.
Like, this is real, dude. And it's hysterical, but it's also super informative.
Yeah.
It's an art form, man. Give yourself some credit.
I appreciate it.
I want everybody to know that so they go and look, because I know you're going to have more stuff that comes out, and I want to see it. And if it's like this, dude, I'm in.
Dude.
I'm in.
Superman 1978. I am ready for it, man. I have it.
Is that the Ice Fortress one?
Yes.
Where he like just runs off and sits in like a cave for a while?
Yes, sir.
And sees holograms everywhere?
His holograms of his father. He just decides to live out. I've never seen this movie until recently, but Superman has a lot of game, because when he shows up to see Lois Lane, he's Mr. Smooth Talker, man. Oh my goodness. I was like, damn.
As Superman, but as Clark Kent, he's tripping over his words.
But like that's a different section, because I really like these kind of movies and I like to talk about them. I used to join a club at Penn State called the Students of S.H.I.E.L.D., where we talked about comics, superhero movies, shows, things like that. Shout out to them. And outside of telling completely separate stories of just like filmmaking in general, I wanted to make this just as fun, to be like, I would really like to know what Batman from 1966 was like, or how that movie went down, just to kind of maybe like dip my toes in before I jump in myself.
Look, it's Adam West, dude. Adam West is an amazing human being. Like, he was so hysterical. Guy was way ahead of his time. He had the best sense of humor. Nobody even realizes it. The guy he was raw. The guy was always raw.
Agreed, man. I only knew him as the mayor of Quahog until...
Gotcha. Dude, I love Seth MacFarlane. I love Seth Green. I love Mila Kunis. That whole group. The way that they poke holes in reality is beautiful.
I've been watching it since I was like, they came out in 99, actually. Yeah. I've been watching that since I was a wee little toddler, just a wee little boy.
Yeah, right?
But I found out so much about the background stuff, the people that were in it. I didn't know that the guy that played the Penguin was Mickey from Rocky. That blew my mind for one. I was like, holy shit.
That's Mickey?
That's Mickey. He's the Penguin.
Chasing chickens, Mickey?
Yes. Yeah, you gotta eat lightning and crack rock. Yeah, that's the Penguin from 1966.
The makeup was great.
Yeah, honestly.
The makeup was great. I mean, I grew up on 93? The Keaton Batman.
Yes.
That was like the first one I went and saw in the theater, and it was fucking amazing. I remember just loving it so much. All those first Batman movies when they came out were so damn cool. Do I watch it now? Hell no. I don't. But I get it. I get it. It's dude, I feel like if you felt like you were slighted when you were young, you get super attached to the hero story.
Yeah.
Or the coming of age or the overcoming type of things.
Yeah.
because all these characters aren't from like an affluent background
But
or
they
anything
share
like
some
that.
similarities with your life sometimes. Like, look at Batman, who lost both of
Exactly.
his parents to violence and to getting shot.
Superman got the shit kicked out of him and was an orphan.
Yeah, but like you still see them triumph over these problems of either loss or maybe my parent might be a villain and I have to deal with that. Like they still take that and they say, well, that's not what the world is. The world still has purity and good people. And sometimes you have to be that person, or sometimes you could show somebody that they can be that person. And I really appreciate that.
I think that's the creator's job. I think that, we were talking about being in the now.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I stand near every episode. So if you don't like it, don't listen. At this point, it's who I am, guys. It's that mindful moment. People give them away. And if you are so lucky as to have someone or a group of people giving you their mindful moment that they have not taken to give themselves, then you have the onus on you to create something for a better influence or to affect change or something along that lines, because people don't make choices themselves. So you have to make sure that your intentions are as pure as they can be. And then you put them out there and hope that it resonates.
And if not, at the worst, you were yourself.
Dude, no harm, no foul.
Honestly.
It's only a foul if you want it to be one. Dude, people can say whatever the hell they want. They can think whatever they want. But in all honesty, it's not a lie when they say it literally can't do anything to you. Like if you plucked you out of life and dropped you off in a remote area, everybody's judgment in the world would never exist to you again.
Yeah.
Zero impact your whole life. Probably get rid of every stomach issue in a minute.
That and every single back acre.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All gone. All gone. Except you'd be banging on your tooth like Castaway.
I can't get through that scene sometimes, dude. Oh my God. I'll just stick to eating rocks.
I love Tom Hanks. Love him. Great actor. So I appreciate you coming on. I really do, Christian. And I want everybody to make sure that they look out for your upcoming movie, the 78 Superman release. And then also you're in how do they describe this?
It's a virtual play. Yes.
Virtual play, which I love how creators have come together and taken advantage of the pandemic and adapted and overcome and found better ways to create things. And actually, you get more input when you have a larger footprint of people to work with. So make sure you guys check that out. I think what is it called? I'm stepping away from my mic here because I wrote it down. It is bridgesandbutterflies.org.
Yep.
And real quick synopsis on that. What is The Change?
The Change is a story about a girl, Giovanna, who has lost both her parents a long time ago, and because of which has isolated herself from her friends and from family. And just when she's trying to get back into the world, a negative influence pops into her life.
Very interesting. It probably resonates real well, too.
Oh, dude, it makes you think. It's
sure.
like, do I want to live this life kind of thing?
Well, there you go, man. And it sounds like you've gotten a handle on it. I appreciate you coming on, Christian.
Thank you very much,
do.
Jay. This is the first time I ever did a podcast. I like that.
Right on, man. all of Christian's contact information, Instagram, Facebook, everything will be in the show notes. Make sure you look him up. Make sure you go to his YouTube channel. That's what is it? Chris Rocks 42.
Yeah.
I like that.
Or just look up my name, Christian Valera, on YouTube. It'll be a nice little picture of me. And if you're curious on trying out one of these videos, I would say, just like Jay eloquently placed, give Batman 1966 a try. It's fun. It's whimsical.
You got my endorsement, man. You got my endorsement. All right, guys, remember, be cool and keep learning. Hey, academics. Thanks again for attending another class at the Tragedy Academy. You can show us some love by subscribing, downloading, and rating us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. Or ask Amazon Alexa to play the Tragedy Academy podcast. You can find links to all major podcast platforms and past episodes at thetragedyacademy.com. You can find us on all the majors of social media, on Instagram at The Tragedy Academy 2019, on TikTok at The Tragedy Academy, and on Twitter at Tragedy_Academy, where we'll post our clips of upcoming shows, updated info, and thoughts. If you'd like to be a guest, send an email to show@thetragedyacademy.com. Keep an eye out on Instagram for Tragedy Academy giveaways. Thanks again for coming to class, and remember, be cool, keep learning.